days, I don't know what to do. I've tried to tell my wife about this, but she's a science teacher, and thanks to my history of practical jokes, she thinks I'm just kidding. There is something stalking me. I don't know what it wants, but almost every night since I started seeing it, it has terrified me. It doesn't touch me. It doesn't communicate in any sort of way. It just fills me with horror. If I seem to ramble, please forgive me. I haven't slept in several days. We live in the second floor of a duplex with stairs that go down the back of the house to the basement where the laundry machines are. There's a door at the bottom of the stairs before the door to the basement that looks out onto our back porch and into our backyard. 6 days ago, I was going down to the basement to bring some laundry, and I glanced out the door as I passed. There was a figure standing in the far edge of our yard. Her back was to me. She was just standing there, looking into the woods beyond our yard. She was dressed in nothing but a light gown. It had lots of flowing material coming off of it that were just whipping around in the air slowly. The whole scene just creeped me out instantly, but I thought she might be a friend of our downstairs neighbors, so I continued to the basement. When I came back up, she wasn't there. The next night, I went down again, and as I passed that back door, I looked outside. The woman was back. She was exactly like she was the night before, facing away, not moving. The hair on my arms and neck stood up straight when I saw her. I was even more creeped out when I realized that it was the same exact clothes from the night before. That's when I did something that I really shouldn't have. I opened the back door, leaned out. I called to her to see if she was okay. She didn't respond. She didn't make any sort of indication that she had heard me. It was freezing cold, so I shut the door and locked it. Coming back upstairs afterward, I looked out the window, and she was gone. Later that same night, I was in the bedroom getting ready to go to sleep. Everything was dark because my wife had already gone to bed before me. Our bedroom looks out over the backyard, and my side of the bed faces the window, so I have to go past them to get in. As I was doing so, I suddenly got that deep dread feeling in my stomach that I had gotten the first time that I saw the figure in the backyard. Something compelled me to hesitate by the window. My hands were shaking as I pulled the curtain back a bit, and I peeked through the shades into the backyard. It was a clear night. The backyard was not shrouded in darkness. The woman was standing in the middle of the backyard, no longer on the edge of the woods, facing the house. Then her head tilted up and looked directly at my window as I was peeking from it. I jerked away instantly, afraid she had seen me. Her face was covered in shadow and hair, but I saw her chin and nose. A sharp nose and a thin chin. Gray. Her skin looks gray, I think. Her hair was black and long. I was so scared I jumped immediately into the bed, covered myself with the covers. The next day, I played outside in the snow with my 4-year-old daughter. She wanted me to pull her on her sled in the backyard, but just the thought of going back there really did scare me again. So I talked her into just digging holes in the snow in the front yard. That night, things went from bad to worse. Somehow I managed to forget about the woman. Then in the middle of the night, my daughter started crying. Our bedroom is just across the hall from hers. I thought she might need to use the bathroom or something. Or maybe she's just having a bad dream. So I went into her room to see if she was okay. She was uncovered, curled into a ball on her mattress. I pulled her covers back over her, and that's when she whispered to me, "Daddy, there's someone in my closet." Instant goosebumps. I turned my head slowly towards the closet door at the end of her bed. Normally the closet is shut, but now it was open. The woman was standing in my daughter's closet. Not even when it was clear that I saw her did she move or make a sound. Just stood there and looked at me through the cracked open door. My blood ran cold as I saw her. "Get up," I told my daughter. "Get in my arms, quickly. Quickly." She scrambled up and hugged me tightly, and I walked backward out the room, watching the closet the entire time. In my mind, I imagined her throwing open that closet door and running at us, arms outstretched. I just hugged my daughter and walked backward into my room. The woman never appeared in the doorway. I heard no movement from my daughter's room. I tucked her into bed and stood there, watching the doorway of her bedroom. I did not go back in. I just stood there, watched, and listened. When I finally had the courage to climb into bed, I didn't sleep. Sunday, I told my wife everything. I told her about the first time I saw this woman. I told her about calling out to her and seeing her from the window. I told her how she had appeared in our daughter's closet. She told me it wasn't funny, and that it was my fault that our daughter's having bad dreams, that I shouldn't encourage her to be afraid of her own closet. Sunday night, my daughter called me from her room again. Call me a coward, but I couldn't go back into that room. I called her quietly to get in our bed, but she cried and said that she was scared. I wanted to go and get her, but I was scared. I told her to pull the blankets up and cover herself. "Just cover yourself, honey, and you'll be okay." I prayed that it was true. I lay there, peeking over the sleeping form of my wife and out into the hallway at the closed door of my daughter's room, and I just kept praying. I heard her cry for a while longer. Then she went quiet and I hoped that she was asleep. Monday, I piled toys in front of the door to her closet. By that time, there was no doubt in my mind that there was some sort of ghost or apparition, but I piled these things in front of her closet anyway. Like a pile of toys would actually stop a fucking ghost. Monday night, my daughter did not cry, but I didn't sleep. I lay there, looking at the ceiling, tense. Around 2 a.m., I heard her bedroom door creak open, and I knew something was wrong. She must be scared, I thought, so I called her like before. "Just come to me, and you can come sleep in our bed, sweetie." But she didn't come. I peeked over my wife. The woman was standing there in the doorway to my daughter's bedroom. Her arms hung at her side, her shoulders slouched down. Her gown was dirty, like it hadn't been washed in years, and hung off her like torn rags. I wasn't breathing. I wasn't blinking. I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. She never moved, never made a sound. I whispered, "Please, go away. Please leave me alone. Please, I'm sorry." I couldn't look away. If I look away, she will get closer. I was sure of it. If I close my eyes, when I open them, she'll be standing over me, looking at me. At some point, she was gone. It's like I fell asleep and my eyes opened. I don't remember her disappearing, just that I was looking at the doorway, and she wasn't there anymore. Last night, I lay awake, waiting. I asked my wife to shut our door because the nightlight in the hallway was keeping me awake. It was stupid. I don't know what I was thinking. Like clockwork, I heard my daughter's bedroom door creak open. I held my breath. Then I heard the floorboards in the hallway creaking, and I started shaking uncontrollably. I heard our bedroom door open, and I knew she was standing there in the doorway, not moving, just looking at me. I didn't look. I couldn't. I did what I had told my daughter to do and pulled the covers over my head. I am a complete mess. A zombie at work. I don't want to go home anymore. I think I see that woman in other places now. I glance while driving and I think that she's in the passenger seat of the truck, or behind me, or standing down the street as I drive off. Just sitting here at my desk. Someone passes by behind me and I jump. I'm afraid that if I turn around, she'll be there, waiting for me to look at her. What if I did see her face? I didn't want to see it. I don't want to see her anymore, but I don't know what to do. The only hope I feel is that, for unrelated reasons, my wife is talking about moving, but our lease isn't up until May. I don't know if I can hold out for that long. I worked as a flight attendant for a few years when I decided to take an extended sabbatical from college. There were a handful of L&M situations I encountered, but one particular one still makes my skin crawl more than any of the others. I was born and raised in Texas, but had moved to New York when I was 21. So when I found out in the beginning of the week-long trip that I'd have a couple of overnights in Austin, I was super excited to be able to go to my home state for a few days. My brother lived in the north side of the city, and we had planned to hang out and go grab dinner when I arrived that night, after he got off work. And the following day we were going to meet up with our dad, who lived about an hour away. So I get to the hotel downtown. The crew and I check in, and we each head off to our own rooms. Short elevator ride and I get to mine. Where not even 5 minutes later, there's a loud, hard knock on the door. It was only around like 1 or 2 p.m., and I hadn't called either my dad or my brother to let them know that I had gotten into town yet, so they wouldn't know what room. I assumed it was maybe one of those crewmates, so I headed to the door. Before even making it to the door, however, a loud male voice on the other side boomed. "The front desk sent me about some bathroom problem you called in." Before I even tried to open the door, "Unlock the door and open up, miss. I need in now." I froze in my tracks. I hadn't even been to the bathroom yet, let alone called anything to the front desk. I'm a petite chick, and while I take no shit from anyone, despite my size, I stayed on the caution side, slowly inching towards the door to look out the peephole. All I could tell was that it was a man on the other side, at least 6 feet tall, and easily double my weight. No way in hell I was going to unlock that door. I responded to the guy, telling him that he must have the wrong room. He continued pounding on that door while continuously turning the handle, telling me no, he needed in and was getting into the room one way or another. I panicked, but thankfully, I had the sense to grab my phone and call the front desk. The concierge confirmed that they had not sent anyone up there, nor had received any phone calls about this bathroom. The entire time, this fucking guy was still determined to get into my room, pounding and yelling. Luckily for me, the front desk had dispatched security, and they sent them to my floor. When the security officer stepped off the elevator a few seconds later, I can hear them in the hallway approach and ask the guy who he was, what he was doing, and telling him he needed to leave the hotel. He immediately gets hostile and aggressive towards them, and the front desk clerk I'm still on the phone with tells me that the police have been called, and they are on their way. In the meantime, I'm trapped in my room, scared shitless. Long story short, the cops show up pretty quickly, and manage to arrest this guy for trespassing and criminal menacing or some shit. I later found out that the guy was also wanted in connection to the string of break-ins and violent sexual assaults in Austin. He had seen and stalked me since the minute I entered the hotel. Apparently, I was exactly his type of victim. Nothing else happened after that, but it still rattled the fuck out of me for the rest of my stay in that hotel. When I was about 10, my family of 6 lived in an extremely small apartment. 2 bedrooms upstairs, and then there's the living room. When I was tired of my siblings, I would sleep downstairs on the couch. One night I am lying on the couch, facing the front door and watching the sky through the window. By the door, when a face shows up in the window, illuminated by a lighter. I freeze, and the face goes away. I'm pretty relieved, thinking it was maybe just our druggy neighbors, seeing if my parents were still awake. But then it shows up again. I try to scream, but when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. Not a sound. The person then kicks the door and walks in the room. He sees me, smiles, and goes towards the kitchen. The guy comes out of the kitchen with a knife, and now I'm close to tears. My dad must have heard all the commotion because he made his way down the stairs, and thankfully the guy boots it out of there. I still can't sleep easily on couches to this day. When I was 10 years old, my family relocated from Delaware to South Carolina for my dad's job. We lived near all of our family and had never moved before. One of my dad's selling points about the move was that people in the South are quote-unquote so friendly. I had just finished 5th grade and would be starting 6th grade in SC. I rode the bus to and from school in Delaware, and so there wasn't a lot of anxiety about riding the school bus after we moved. 6th grade started, and I was excited about my new school and loved my teacher. Dad was right. People in the South are polite and friendly. Well, I guess you could say most of them are. Anyway, one day in the fall, I got off of the bus at my stop after school, and a man in a dark green Volkswagen Beetle that was behind the bus pulled off the main road and called out to me as I was walking toward my house. I turned around and probably even smiled at him. I had no stranger danger fears at the time. I walked up to his driver's side of his car to see what he wanted. I figured he was just wanting to ask for directions or something, and I planned to tell him that I had just moved here and didn't know. But oh boy, he didn't need directions. He was after something entirely different. He smiled at me and said something I didn't catch, comprehend, or understand, so I said, "What?" or "Excuse me?" to get him to repeat it. I got a little closer so I could hear him a little bit better. He said. So at the time, I didn't know what that word really meant, except that maybe I did, but I knew it was a bad word and I didn't want to. Whatever fuck meant. I turned and ran to my neighbor's house and didn't look back. I was crying and they called my mom, and my parents called the police about it. A couple of days later, the police department had a sketch artist come meet my parents and I at the station to work with me. I did the best I could, but honestly, I wasn't studying the man's features, or even trying to remember his face at the time, so I didn't know how accurate it would be. My parents and I thought that that was the end of it. Nobody really thought that they would find him. The cops were saying things like if they found him, he would go to jail for a while, for his obscene question to me. My mom was nervous that if it came down to it, they would have to go to court and testify, and she didn't feel good about putting me through that. She was worried that even as an undeveloped 10-year-old child, the defense would attempt to shame me in some way, or say I was asking for it. About a week later, I was again getting off of the bus, and I hear a car horn beep. I look to see, and it was the same guy. Same Volkswagen Beetle, smiling and waving at me. I was stunned. I blankly waved back for some reason, but at the same time memorized his tag number. I repeated it to myself over and over as I ran to my house to write it down and call my mom. Cops were notified, and the guy was identified. He lived about 20 minutes away in another town. His local cops knew him and were friendly with his family. The good old boy system. So he didn't go to jail, but apparently they told him to stay away from me. I never saw him again, and I hope to never do. I wonder how many times he might have followed that bus, watched me, and I never knew anything about it. So, dear pedo pervert predator, let's never meet again. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, I just wanted to say thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. The last few days, well, week now, I've been in and out of being sick, and it's definitely been affecting my schedule. I just wanted to apologize for that. If you ended up watching this video all the way through, I do want to say thank you. I really do appreciate it. If you did enjoy the content, make sure to let me know down in the comment section. And also, like, and if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe. We're doing nothing but growing. I've got a lot of content and a lot more coming, especially on Sunday. Sunday's video is going to be pretty damn good. I'm really excited for that one. But with that being said, make sure to check out the links in the description. My Twitter, Instagram, everything is like that, so you can keep up to date on what's going on the channel. I also have my Gmail if you would like to submit a story as well. But other than that, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one. God, I really wish this sickness would go away. Okay, bye.